It is time now for the Red Chair Special. That's right here in MLB Time. Just imagine CY and Yonder, strobe lights in the club, beats are pumping.
Oh, that's happened before. Trust me.
Might happen a little later tonight here in St. Caucus.
Oh, that's a lifetime ago, Adnan.
Get the glow sticks out. Giants and the Reds, which was surprisingly one of the best games of the day. Let's get to the highlights and break this down here from every nook and cranny possible. Justin Verlander is making his second start against the Reds this season, and Verlander, CY, was strong early on. He struck out 4 of the first 6 batters he faced.
Yeah, he was strong early on. You saw Vince's Verlander right here. It's coming out throughout the season. He's had a couple so-so outings, so you were hoping when you came into today's game, the way he started, it was going to go amazing for him.
Top of the third, Verlander's facing TJ Friedl. Friedl doubling off the right field wall, and Jake Fraley scores. Reds up 1-0.
Yeah, but earlier on, those first 2 hitters that got on, just a lot of bad luck for Verlander right there.
We'll take a closer look in just a second. 2 batters later, Elly De La Cruz is up with the bases loaded. Doubling on a ground ball that's deflected by Lamont Wade Jr., 2-run score.
Yeah.
Check it out again.
As you're watching this game, like Yonder said, that's some tough luck, but you feel like this could be the moment of the game where it's busted open. The Giants offense is going to get challenged today.
Gavin Lux singling off Tyler Fitzgerald's glove, 2-run score as the ball gets under Fitzy's glove and into center.
I mean, look at that. That's a one-hopper right there. Just eats him up a little bit.
So the Reds now up 5-0 at this point in time. Let's pause the big highlight here for you right now. Yonder, vintage Verlander. What'd you see early?
I saw velocity. I saw a guy who looked fresh, right? I saw a guy who reminded me a lot of those Houston Astros days. I saw a guy that was 97, 98 miles an hour, had some really good stuff, really good breaking ball. But what I saw was location. And look, for an older guy who's been around for a long time, sometimes early on in those first couple of starts, it's hard. You look at those fastballs at the top of the zone he was throwing today, it kind of reminded me of him in Houston. And look, there's going to be a niche here. This is me right here against Verlander. I know that top of the fastball, what it feels like. And then the secondary stuff was electric. That slider at 90 miles an hour, when he's throwing that at 90 and not 84, 85, it tells you it's got bite. And a lot of those lefties had a lot of problems with it. Again, it reminds me of those Houston Astros days when he had 97 at the top of the zone and he had those filthy cutters at 88 to 90 miles an hour. That's when things are really clicking for him. And once again, that's me with that slider, so I know exactly what that feels like. I thought for me, the crucial part about this was the changeup. He doesn't necessarily throw it that much, CY, but when he does throw it, they're really good changeups. They're plus pitches. So not only does he have the fastball at the top of the zone at 97, he's got the slider, and now he's got that changeup. It's going to be very, very tough, especially in that stadium in San Francisco, to do anything effective against Verlander. I think his stuff today was electric. It's the best I've seen in some time. And look, I know he got those 6 runs, right? But his stuff was a lot better than what he showed out in that box score.
First start with 9 or more strikeouts since May 29th, 2024 at Seattle. You see he was using a slider 33% of the time and the 4-seam fastball at half the time. See why you buying what Yonder's selling, vintage Verlander?
I'm buying what Yonder's selling. Sometimes you don't get the results, but your process is right. It's the same thing no matter whether you're pitching or if you're hitting. You know when you're in the box, if you're out there and you're putting together good at-bats and you're bailing up the ball, sometimes you just don't get results. Unfortunately for Verlander, a couple balls right out of reach changed his entire outing today.
Let's get back to the highlight then. From Verlander we go. We saw the fact it was a deficit. Bottom of 4, Giants trailing at 5-0. Here's Jung Hoo Lee up with Willy Adames on first, and Lee a triple to right as Adames scores.
Run like the wind.
Yeah, Lee's triple, 11.49 seconds. That's the 3rd fastest in baseball this season.
Yeah, and that's what the Giants thought they were getting when they signed Jung Hoo Lee. It's great to see him out there playing and out there having fun.
Now a 5-1 game, bottom of 6, Reds leading 6-1. Nick Martinez was cruising through 5, and now facing Lee, base hit to right. Martinez gets back on track after the single as he's facing Matt Chapman. Got him. And Elliot Ramos swings through that pitch. Now it's 2 out for Mike Yastrzemski. Yaz is 0 for 13, 8 Ks against Martinez, but he delivers. A double to right, Lee gets to 3rd, and there's 2 in scoring position for the Giants.
As you see this game building up at this point, it went from very out of reach to turning into a real game very quickly right here in the 6th.
That's Wilmer Flores. Martinez, he's a real wild one. Lee scores, Yaz moves to 3rd, Giants now down 6-2. Later in the at-bat, it's Flores, base hit to right.
This is all Giants baseball right here. I mean, this is what Buster Posey wanted to see from his team, right? It just feels like one of those Buster Posey teams when he played on them, that it was never over till it was over.
Former Giant Taylor Rogers comes in for Martinez to face Patrick Bailey, and Bailey a triple to right.
What I love about seeing this comeback in the workings, Adnan, is that the Giants, the way they build their team, when you have such a large stadium, you don't need to always hit the ball out of the yard to manufacture runs. You try to use those big gaps to your advantage as much as possible.
Giants now down 6-4, and then here's Fitzgerald, base it to right. Bailey scores. They're now down just 1, and we got ourselves a 6-5 game as we pause it once again. Amazing to think what this team is doing. And speaking of a guy who doesn't hit the ball out of the park but does a lot of things right, what do you make of Jung Hoo Lee?
What I love about Jung Hoo Lee, I feel like this is still his breakout season in some form or fashion because of the injury that he went through last year. But watching him in the lineup day in and day out, I think he is a huge part of why the Giants are having so much success. Yes, when they signed him over a year ago, you feel like you're going to get this everyday player coming out, be a spark plug for your team. And yes, he tried to be a spark plug with making this play. Unfortunately, you get the big shoulder injury, you end up missing the rest of the season. Tough spot. But this year, the hooligans are out. Yes. The fans are showing up. He has a fan base. He's having fun. You're getting back an elite defensive center fielder that you can man the field every day. You're seeing a great athletic plays. He's not timid out there. He's not apprehensive. And the hooligans are loving every bit of it. But he's been in the 3-hole this entire season, and he's gaining a fan base. Not your typical power hitter for 3-hole, but today he showed off his attributes and what he can do to bring your team back into the game. He's a great accessory to this lineup. He's not going to be the guy who carries the freight. He's just not. That's not the type of player he is. He's normally a typical leadoff hitter, but in the 3 spot, he doesn't strike out a lot. He can barrel the ball up on a consistent basis. You see his numbers in the KBO. This is a guy who gets on base at a high clip, and this year, hopefully, is much closer to the player he's going to be as opposed to what we saw from him last year.
And also, this is a guy whose nickname is Grandson of the Wind.
Right.
His father was Son of the Wind.
Okay, so that means his grandfather, like Harold Reynolds said the statement, his grandfather had to be the wind because his father
son
of the wind.
He's the grandson of the wind.
So Harold said his grandfather is the wind. Hello, Mr. Wind. Nice to meet you.
Well, we'll fact check that. That's indeed correct. Wind, good to meet you. Let's go back to highlight we go and check out what happened here in the bottom of the 8th. Flores, a solo home run to left on the first pitch of the inning.
That was not wind-aided, I'll tell you that much.
When you see, I know this is not walk-off, but when you see Flores numbers in big situation, he comes through time and time again. He's such a clutch player, and the Giants are lucky to have him.
5th homer of the season, Geico extra innings. Bottom of the 10th, tied at 6. And Yaz, the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. A 2-run walk-off home run to right into McCovey Cove. Yaz's 2nd homer of the game. That is a wild win for the Giants.
Character building. Those feel like they add up to 2 or 3 wins, right? Those long games like that you come back from behind, oh, man, you feel like you can do that against anybody.
You feel like you're out of the game in the first inning. You find yourself in late in the game with a huge spot and get that win. You feel like you stole one.
Absolutely.
Down 5-0, able to do that. Spy versus Spy. Carl versus Mike. Yaz versus Yaz. 61 through 83. The incredible career of the Hall of Famer. 4 walk-off home runs with the Red Sox. Mike Yastrzemski already has 5 walk-off home runs.
You take that. You take what you can get. That's a huge stat right there. He's got to be proud of himself.
That's incredible. Do you feel like, Yonder, we focus so much on the Dodgers for good reason. Padres as well. D-backs a great offseason. Are the Giants potentially a playoff team?
Yeah, I do think so very much. I think when you look at this starting rotation, right, in Verlander, Webb, Hicks, you got Robbie Ray. I mean, you've got some guys now that can give you innings. If they can stay healthy, yes, absolutely. I think this team is built on defense and pitching. Kind of like those Buster Posey years when he played with the Giants. It was about defense and pitching and timely hitting. Look, we saw vintage Giants when they went through those runs and they won all those World Series and they were in the postseason. This is the type of game that's what they were like. So I think for them, it's obviously a character builder, but absolutely, I think this roster is built to give a challenge to this West.
And it's interesting, to Yonder's point, what you were saying earlier, CY, today's game is so predicated on the 3-run home run, getting off your ace swing. I love the fact they're atypical. We don't need home runs.
Right.
We'll just utilize the park and pitching and defense and timely hit.
I think you have to play to the ballpark. If you're a team who's trying to win games in San Francisco only by hitting the ball out of the yard, you're going to find yourself with a whole bunch of deep flyouts. It's just not the yard that's built for that. So if you build your team, we just hit on Jung Hoo Lee, Matt Chapman swinging the bat well. I love the way this team has been built, and now you're bringing in guys like Willy Adames, huge leader, great leader. Yonder hit on the pitching staff. I think this is a complete team. Yeah. And I would love to see this team have success. It's great for them to have the success early, build the belief up within the organization, build this winning culture. And the fans, that is one of the best places in baseball to play when your team is in the playoff hunt and in the playoff race. You sell that stadium out, it's one of the best environments in baseball.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous park. You're right, when the fans are there, it's pretty wild. But let's go back over that crazy pop-up, because clearly what everyone was saying was, what we have here is a failure to communicate. Yonder, CY, break it down.
Yeah, man. Look, and I think for me, it all comes to communication, right? And you look at who's playing and what's happening, and how much time have you really spent at first base? And I think for me, Rodriguez hadn't really had that experience with each other, with the players, to understand what was happening. And look, as a first baseman myself, I always went through pre-pitch checklists, right? I always wanted to know where my right fielder was at. I wanted to know where my second baseman was at. And it was all about understanding, like, hey, all right, man, if the right fielder scooted to right center, we've got to communicate ourselves with balls over us, right? If there's a catcher that's not really athletic, we got to make sure I can cover that, all that foul line. for me, always wanted to know what my second baseman was doing, what my right fielder was doing, and it was all about communication, especially with fly balls. And the last thing for me is how athletic is the pitcher? How athletic is my pitcher and how athletic is my catcher? And when we look at this play, it always felt like these guys just weren't aware of their surroundings. They weren't really communicating that well. And yes, the ball is hit up, the pitcher's kind of pointing at it, but that's about it. Other than that, you're seeing Rodriguez come in hard. He doesn't even look at the catcher. He doesn't even look at the third base guy in Hayes, and he's just trying to go at it like if he was playing in the outfield, right? So I think for me, it was a no man's land because for me, home plate is kind of that line, that linear line. Anything that's on this right side is a third baseman. Anything that's on the first base side is mine, right? And that wasn't the case. It was all, I got it, nobody else is playing, get out of the way, and that really necessarily didn't happen.
This was full panic mode that set in all at one time. The game does move fast, but if you speed it up, it could get in hyperspeed at times. And the play speeds up for me, Yonder. If we run this back, as soon as the ball is hit and Bart puts his head up and he can't see it, right here, he cannot see the ball. He does not know where it is. At this moment, all panic settles in. Endy Rodriguez at first base, he's not going to even look down again to see if Bart finds the ball and gets settled under it. And you see this terrible collision that happens. So a few things that stick out to me, we're going to end up having to run this back again. We end up getting out right here. Ideally, as the catcher, the ball goes up. You've seen this play so many times, Yonder. Ball goes up, catcher comes out. The ball is going to fall back towards the field, so he's going to get and try to face the crowd because the ball is going to come back, fall this way. Bart's not able to do that because he doesn't see it right off the bat. At that point, Endy Rodriguez over at first base, who, like Yonder said, hasn't had a lot of experience at first base, so he says, I need to come in here and save the day. I'm a catcher. I know how to catch this ball. I'm coming from the right direction. I can make this play happen, but nobody's calling anybody off. You don't see anybody yelling, and this to turn into a really dangerous play. So one, Bart gets a little turned around, and then he tries to catch the ball out here. Number two, Endy Rodriguez doesn't have a lot of experience there. He comes in and tries to save the day. And the number three thing I have to mention, that the last time we look at this, the ball still falls on the third base side of the field right here.
That's right.
So ideally, you would want the third baseman, Ke'Bryan Hayes, to come in and take control in that play. But maybe he sees how fast things are moving, and he sees Endy Rodriguez is running with his hair on fire and says, you know what, I need to get out of here before this gets crazy. But it's a botched play as far as communication goes. This is something that doesn't happen very often in the big league game, but you had to be prepared for it to make sure this never happens again. Absolutely. That's going to be extremely dangerous. But that's how you would ideally like to make this play. If Joey Bart can't find it, the ball's falling to that side, you would like to see Ke'Bryan Hayes take charge. So, Adnan, if me, you, and Yonder are ever in that situation, I'm taking charge. Get out of my way.
Communicate,
I
man.
got it.
Communicate.
But for now,